And hey there, it's me, Mudlink, and welcome back to some more The Great Ace Attorney Adventures. So last time, we finished off the third case, and it was fucking amazing. It was a massive shock. It's just amazing. Like, everyone already knows how great the adventure of the runaway room is. It's so fucking good. Okay, let's just move on right away to the Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. I don't like this case as much as the third case, but it's still pretty good. Alright, let's get started.
時折僕は思うのだよ、ワトソン。ホームズは物憂げに首を振り言った。我々が目にする事件は本当にそれが全てなのだろうか。その裏側に誰も知るもののない物語が隠れているかもしれない。ハーブティーから立ち上る湯気を追うその夢見るような眼差しの先には、きっとあの雪の日の夕刻の情景が浮かんでいたのだと思う。ブライアーロードの歩道に倒れ伏した若い女性とその背に刺さった狂人。ガス灯の明かりが柔らかく切り取った奇怪な事件現場の情景。不可解な姿なき犯人の事件は薄い霧の中静かに幕を開けたのだった。
19th of February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. I really don't remember how I did his voice, if I'm being honest. It's been quite a few days since I recorded for this. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms are so luxurious. I feel like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Birdie, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Whoops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. Ugh, I really am sorry. Oh, never mind, we must find some more affordable lodging straight away though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Ugh, London is a scary place. Ah, good morning to you at this early hour. Something like that. Close to Lord Van Zeek's, but not quite. Actually, now it's turning British. Oh yes, we are, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato sounds amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh? No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure. I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? Oh fuck, I forgot I have to do this fucking voice again. The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to have proper judgment. Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. Ha. Missed one. I just can't help wondering. Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away, immediately following the trial. No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Now I can finally converse with him. I don't understand what happened. How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already. The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. I do this fucking stupid voice again. Well, I must be making tracks now. Tis time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. Can't do a fucking Irish accent to save my life. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. So how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Susato-san is such a way with words. You seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating. I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I've prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he gonna say before? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me, it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Huh, so the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilt's trial. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. There was one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh? If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Ugh, here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Miss Naruhodo. There was something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intend to see through to the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear exactly what you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he can change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh? Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he had never made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, you never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. We've got to go gruff voice. Gruff British voice. Gor Blimey. Can we trouble you? What do you think? What do you think? There you go. Sounds a bit like that. Lovely weather, isn't it? Lovely weather, ain't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Ah, listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eating out of your hand, you know. Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes that you are talking to. Now I just turned to Yosemite Sam. Oh, why are the... Ooh! I hate these British voices. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? I haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. Not because of some bump in his ear on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. No need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue. Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable, how did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Here he is. Tobias Gregson. Loves his fish and chips. Yeah, fish and chips are not too bad. I like them. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? Acting like you know this man, Miss Usato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well. Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rance Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Holmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Holmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Holmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Sorry. Gregson is a pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. That's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now, whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in the stories. The fame's gone to his head, stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I'm all over the place with that voice. Get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps the sudden rise to fame does change people. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. So as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means... as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. Wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she was still laid up in the hospital, unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? Suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself for your Inosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after some of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. This is killing my voice. We barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to this trial tomorrow is Lord Barak von Zeeks. No. Sounds like you heard of him then. Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak von Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused the sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Huh. And what of it? Oh well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No. You really don't have a clue, do you? Oh my god, what the fuck was that? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGilda came a cropper in our omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? There you go, something like that. I've just been all over the place with this voice. I fucking hate British voice. What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about it if I were you. Gor Blimey. Here's the thing, when I'm losing the voice, just so go Gor Blimey. And I get the voice back. Are we really supposed to believe that? Oopsie. Right, well, I've filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Prior Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the building cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You're branding him a criminal already? He's as good as, shaking like a leaf in his cell he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer, and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. Goodbye now. There we go. Better like that. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling? My god. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. Sorry. Well, I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Do you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes. Let's go. We're gonna go to prison first. I miss how in the Scarlet Study translation they like spelled it like the old timey way you say jail, Gaol. I like that. So 19th February, local prison cell 9. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here, but it's so dark at the back there I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop waiting at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Calling me by a number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Miss Naruhodo, what? What do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? A tirade of complaints was in Japanese. There he is. Excuse me, but who? Shh! Quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right, so, could I ask you who exactly? There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide, you're a ghost! A ghost? You mean you no harm, prisoner-san? Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams! Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment for the godparents! Could have guessed that this new client Lord Van Zeke assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese. What compassion my fellow countrymen show! To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! For the godparents! A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can. I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably and notoriously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Hey, before we do anything, one thing you should get in the habit of doing is presenting the armband. Now, Strongheart doesn't have a reaction when you present this stuff to him, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, Tobias and Soseki say something. So next time we see Tobias, we're gonna give him this. We're gonna show him this. Yes, the symbol of one of our great empire's first-rate lawyers. Which means, of course, you'll stand by my side. You'll defend me. Oh no, sorry, that wasn't why I was showing it to you. Then why else would you show that to me? Show me that. Oops, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. Yeah, you're Soseki Natsume. He's a real-life person. Tobias Gregson obviously is from the Sherlock Holmes books. He is a detective from Scotland Yard. This guy is based off a real life dude who actually was a traveling student studying English literature in Japan. and they basically matched the character that he wrote himself that he was writing as, and also how he described himself, and they basically translated it to how it is in this game. It's pretty fucking cool. And it goes by the exact same name. Like the napkin or handkerchief that's in his fucking breast pocket looks like a piece of ham. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume. A nom de plume. Because I'm trying to say un nom de plume. And I sound weird when I'm saying that. What the fuck? I can fucking speak French. Why the fuck do I sound weird when I speak French? Maybe just because I have mush mouth. I don't know. Fuck. I just have mush mouth when I record this shit. A nom de plume. You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No. Don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffer that misery? Did you not wish to study? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh, what? Just because the government tells you to do something, doesn't mean you can do it? No! What do you mean? What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understand. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. Billy Godparents. I see. Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, so I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. Murder? Oh no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife. Right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I've been to the bookshop. I've been to the bookshop to buy some books as I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know of any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, Who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably. Apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. Well, that creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Sasaki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did! If that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Ah, you! What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought of that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Sasaki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. It was him. That accursed great detective. You led the police to me. All the bad luck. Cursed great detective? Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his hearty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Rash, big-headed, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Sherlock Holmes! I knew it. Oh yes, it was me. The great Sherlock Holmes. Mr. Holmes? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me. This is the police, put the weapon down. Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting, dietary discrimination, devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That's Sherlock Holmes. It's actually just Sherlock Holmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me? This weak, stooped kitten of a man. Wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Holmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me, in impossible English. Fiendish, foreign, flammery. Well, we are in England. Can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was in manacles. And before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. Empire? Ugh, why is empire? Why I say it like that? It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? The same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Seki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, and my ears shut without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. Ugh. Still a little bit tired. I can see what you've been through. Saseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Welcome student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Alright, it's time for us to move down to Briar Road. 19th of February, Briar Road. So this is where it happened, Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the depicted in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close to a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Gor Blimey. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Gor Blimey. Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells then? What'd you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. Well, we'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens. The verdict's a foregone conclusion. Oh, the stone cold air of rejection. Take heart, London at this time of year is full of stone cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Here's my badge. Inspector Gregson, could I show you this? Am I supposed to know what that is? I've never seen that insignia before. It's worn by defense lawyers in the Empire of Japan as a symbol of their profession. In other words, it's a worthless trinket here in Great Britain. Oh no, it's very important to me. It shows my spirit. An English gentleman keeps things like his spirit very much to himself, you know. Oh. Don't give up, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too late. He's crushed my spirit already. Before any, no, well, we're not really, can't really examine things here anyway. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated police and organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby's hard going, I can tell you. Oh really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does. Goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What, he wakes people up? Yep. Raps on the windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. He starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's a regulation distance. Can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. It happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. Suppose that means they hadn't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really, are you sure? It's the odd policy to give lawyers, defendants, suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? How much of a head scratcher is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We had 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? There were witnesses now? Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a Bobby, catching them banging the act and all that. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like in court tomorrow. Oh, I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. Because he's got no intention of letting us meet the men beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. So I was like, don't give me sass. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect. I heard that was Mr. Sherlock Holmes. What are you bringing him up for? This is something I said. The color has drained from his cheeks. Oh, did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Holmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was a result of one of Mr. Holmes' inspirational great deductions. Fiddle faddle. Ah, the man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh, I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime and wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He's a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Huh. Ever seen this before? Oh yes, that's Rance Magazine. A wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories, and the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I'll just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. Still, this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really gonna have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it? Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Holmes? Yes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Holmes for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not something my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Holmes again. Trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address, even. So how? It's Baker Street. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage! So we're to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Well, I would do that, but it would be better to leave it off here. you know, I don't want to make the episode too long. Yeah. So this case is already very unique for an Ace Attorney case. It's not a murder trial. It's an attempt. Well, it's a seemingly attempted murder. And you know, we got to be introduced to Tobias Gregson. And next, we're gonna be meeting up at Sherlock Holmes' house, and it's gonna be quite great. So I'll be seeing you guys then. Take care.